Hi, everybody. This is Beth McGill of LODNT and the LODC, the Language of Dance Center US. And I'm so excited to have so many of you being a part of the August Challenge 2023 on Instagram. And some people might be posting to Facebook as well. But it's so great to have so many voices sharing these ideas about motif notation. This is really just a time to encourage movement, encourage creative thinking, encourage a revisiting to some of the concepts in language of dance and motif notation in order to deepen our appreciation for the art form of dance. So it's really meant to be play, and anybody can join in at any time. And what I wanted to do here today, since the challenge has already started, I wanted to review just what we've done so far and then make sure everybody is super clear on what is happening for the rest of this month. So let me share my screen. And here we go. All right. So here we have the entire month, right? So on Tuesday, we started with shape. Wednesday, we had extension, any pathway, traveling on any pathway. Today is balance, and tomorrow will be addressing. That's going to finish out this first week in August. And so what I thought I would do is I would talk a little bit about how I organized this month. So you'll see that there's some similarities between the 6th, the 13th, the 20th, and the 27th, and that is the use of accents. Accents are a great family of dynamics. They're a little burst of energy, right? And a piece of energy that just pops out and gives lots of energy to a moment. And so when we see it here on the 6th, we see an impulse. We see the accent at the beginning, which means a spark of energy, right? Like I like to use the word pow. So there's a strong percussive element at the beginning, and then it dissolves pow all the way through. This contrasts with what we see on the 13th. Now, just a reminder, because we're reading dance notation always from the bottom up, we identify that this accent is at the end of the action duration line. So, okay, an accent now at the end of the duration provides an impact. So it's like hi-ya, right? Hi-ya. So there's a build up and a hit. Sha-pow or sha-pa would be more accurate, right? Because it needs to cut off and be sharp at the end. Very strong, aggressive movements work really well with impact accents. And then we have the accent in the middle, and we've come to call this surge. So it'd be a movement, sha-pa. A swing is a great example of a surge because it has that sha-pa, sha-pa, sha-pa. It has that weightedness in the middle. But any sort of movement that then has a burst is really fun. So I hope you'll have fun with this surge idea. I know that I really like it. And here we have a contact bow with a darkened accent, and that means a strong accent. So that's going to be any form of contact with strength. That's going to create a sonic component, and it can be a slap or a clap, right? I only put one accent. I could put two accents if both hands were coming together, right? So that they're both active, but otherwise, one hand is active, one hand is making that clap, and you can think of slapping, clapping, stomping, although, then we get into change of support as well. So probably focus on slapping and clapping for this day 27. Next, we go over to our Monday series, and you see that they have similarities by all using the direction symbol. So when we have the any ad lib symbol across the middle of the rectangle, in this case, a place low rectangle with any symbol means any low level, any direction in the low level. So any direction, forward, side, back, side, with any part of the body, putting any part of the body in the low level. It does not necessarily mean the whole body goes to the low level, but it can. So play with the difference. How do I move body parts into their personal low level? And then how might I use the whole body to go into the low level? So again, looking at what body parts becomes essential when we're analyzing our movement. Here we have the same thing with the middle level. So that's going to be the horizon. You want to think about horizons. And for example, the arm at middle level is going to be at shoulder height. Again, that can be to the front, to the side, to the back. If you're very flexible, it's going to be your 90-degree battement, forward, side, back. Or the whole body can inhabit the middle level, which we regard as standing, kind of a standing in place level, standing in neutral, where I'm not really on the balls of my feet, I'm not reaching up, I'm just in my normal standing state, or in that belly button region, right? I haven't gone quite to the ground yet. So that's going to be middle level. High level then is when I do take body parts above the point of attachment. So my arms are reaching up, forward, high, back. In that high level, I'm taking my whole body into the high level. I can take my whole body into the high level by reaching and extending upward, and or springing is a great example. And finally, we have on the 28th, we see this empty symbol. So it's an empty symbol with the ad lib. And if this is any direction low level, any direction middle level, any direction high level, this is going to mean any direction, period. Any direction, lots of different directions. So this is going to give you the most freedom. So you're going to come to that on day 28. Here we have Tuesday the 1st, we did our shape, and there are some great posts, hashtag LOD any shape. And then we have combinations with shapes as we go down. So here we have shape next to the symbol for any rotation. Now, let's remember, if you're reading motif notation will be read from bottom to top in sequence. So when you see two things side by side, that means that they would happen simultaneously. So what I was hoping to invite the play here is making a shape while turning, making a shape while rolling, and what creative possibilities come up with that. So making a shape while rotating, or being in a shape and rotating. So combinations of shaping, making a shape and rotating, I thought would be fun. Similarly, on the 15th, we make a shape and travel. So what shapes can travel? How do different shapes travel? What physical challenges does that pose as we do that? And you can see the travel, yes, it extends a little bit beyond. I wasn't trying to be particular here. I was just trying to say, explore traveling and shape simultaneously and see what happens. Now, for many of you, who haven't done a ton of language of dance specifically, maybe you've done motif and other modalities, but haven't done a lot of language of dance, this might be a new symbol. So we have our shape, a new concept, excuse me, and any shape concept. And then we have this funny curly Q bracket. And that curly Q bracket is an indication of emotion. And now I think this is one of the really interesting categories of dynamics and language of dance, because it talks about emotion. And we talk about emotion when we're teaching dances, when we're making dances. We often will direct our students or our dancers to elevate their emotion, their emotional engagement, or tamp down their emotional engagement, right? To be robotic. So this indicates that you want an increase in emotional intensity. Now, what emotion is up to you, but we want strong emotions, stronger emotions as part of those shapes. So what happens when we create shapes that are rooted in a strong emotion? Do we make different shapes? I was hoping that would be a fun thing to play with. And conversely, on the 29th, let me scoot it up a little bit. On the 29th, we have shapes with a depressed sense of, I shouldn't use the word depressed, with a lowered sense of emotional intensity. So not necessarily sad, but just as if maybe we're a little numb, or we're a little robotic, or we're a little zombied, right? Maybe a little less human, a little less intense, where maybe now we're just going through form. We're focused on things other than emotion in this day 29. So I'm hoping that that will be fun to explore. We had any extension this week. Again, lots of great posts at hashtag LOD any extension or hashtag LOD challenge. And then we'll see flexion. Again, any flexion, any coming in, getting smaller, getting tighter. That's going to be pretty clear for most of us who have had motif. But here we see a different configuration. While I was describing simultaneous actions for shape, this is actually a sequence. I was hoping to invite sequence. So the sequence here, we read from the bottom to the top, again, bottom to the top. We start with a quick flexion, and then a slow extension. And then I would encourage you to repeat that pattern. Quick flexion, slow extension. Quick flexion, slow extension, and see what expressive possibilities are available there. The next week, we flip it. Quick extension and slow flexion. Quick extension and slow flexion as you go up. And then on the last day of the last Wednesday, we get to enjoy some stillness. So you can play with that, and you don't have to stay still the whole time, but just enjoying stillness and playing with stillness. Onto our pathway sequence, you can see that I have lots of the different pathways, not quite all of them. I'm missing zigzag, for example. But here we have traveling on any pathway, hashtag LOD any pathway. And then we have a straight pathway in which you're going only in a straight line from point A to point B. And then you would need to either reverse directions of steps, or you would need to turn and go into a new direction. So that's going to be straight pathway, circular pathway in either direction. So we identify them as clockwise and counterclockwise. Some dancers in colloquial use will use right and left. This gets confusing because, of course, you don't always step to the right and to the left, and or we're not always circling forward and back. And so we like to say clockwise and counterclockwise. So I encourage you to really put clockwise and counterclockwise into your brain as you explore, and explore size and modes of travel while circling. Ideally, in a circular pathway, that radius stays constant. So it would be, if you're walking around a fountain, that's going to keep you constant. If you're walking, let me think, you need a perfect circle. Walking around another human body, right, with maintaining your distance would give you a nice circle. So nice circular pathway, clockwise or counterclockwise. And then we have a curved pathway. Curved pathway is different because it is not symmetrical. It's not regular. We use this for wavy paths very often. So if you have a pathway, that you're waving or kind of going like an easy looping pattern, not looping around, but just undulating pattern would be another great word. So curved pathway and or kind of an irregularly shaped circle. You could use this as well. There are other tools to talk about irregular shaped circles though. So we can get to those with floor plans, maybe in another challenge. But curved pathway, just think curving, waving, undulating pathways. Meandering. Now, meandering is unpredictable. It's needs to be probably fairly long to communicate that we don't have a set path that is predictable or repeatable. Of course, the performer could probably repeat it, but from the outside observer, it just looks like they're going willy-nilly. And maybe this is a great tool for the performer to go willy-nilly through the space. And so you can play with meandering. Our Friday challenges include aspects of the center of gravity and or change of support. I thought would be kind of fun. So we start with balance today, falling, pretty straightforward. And then this one where we have a tombe. So our center of gravity is leading. This is a led by bow. Remember, we start reading bottom to top. the center of gravity is leading us into a pathway. So it'd be a tombe or a fall that leads us into going somewhere, a fall that leads us into going somewhere, a fall that leads us into going somewhere. So that could be nice and useful. And then rolling, just because I love rolling and I'm in charge. And so I decided to put rolling in there. So enjoy it, rolling on the ground. Okay, Saturday, we have addressing. So addressing with your hand, addressing with your eyes, somehow indicating something, putting our energy in some area, but not necessarily moving towards it or even gesturing towards it. It might just be like, that over there. Yep, I got it, right? And so it's very much about moving the attention with addressing. So I am moving the attention of the observer, hopefully my attention and the attention of the observer into addressing something like that. That's what you're thinking. So yeah, so you want to move that energy. This is 2 sliding contact bows. So when we have sliding contact, it means that I have maintained contact and now I'm sliding my hands against each other or hands against body parts. So sliding contact, you can also slide contact with other surfaces and other objects. I'm going to encourage you to avoid support. Sliding support is another level. You would use support bows instead of contact bows, but you get the idea. So sliding contact, super fun. And then we have nearness. So I can come near something without touching it. And I just am always fascinated with nearness. So I wanted to play with it. And I thought you might like to play with it too. It's particularly fascinating body to body, but certainly body to object can be really meaningful as well because there's all that tension in the near space. So I hope that you enjoy exploring nearness. And then 26th will be support. I could put a change of support here for sure. In which case, or an action stroke underneath to make it a change of support. But in using these themes, we're going to assume there are actions that develop. And then just a little reminder, you want to make sure that you always include hashtag LOD challenge at the very least, because that's what we look at to make sure we see who posts what. And then at Language of Dance Center is another way to make sure that we see it. It also makes it easier for us to share what you post. So if you can do at Language of Dance Center, here are a couple other: dance literacy, dance notation, dance ed, and language of dance are some other recommended hashtags. If you want to tag me specifically, I'm at Dancing Poetess, but yeah, we're just so excited to have people participating and having fun. And I hope that it will be creative and stimulating for you as we navigate this world of coming to understand what we do, knowing what we do. The clearer we can get up here, the clearer we can get in here, that becomes power, becomes potential, because then we can make changes. So once I know what I'm doing, I can decide to do something differently. And that knowing is not just up here, right? It's a somatic knowing. So I hope that you are having beautiful, wonderful, rich intellectual and somatic experiences as part of this. And thank you so much. And I just look forward to seeing all of your posts. Reach out directly if you have any questions. I'm here for you. Okay, bye.